Stuart Miller, Ye of Little Faith. Hope Phil presses live tonight. Of course I press live, of course, because here we are. It is indeed the Friday feeling on the bus. And once again, just like last week, it's another two-man team. It's the Friday night tradition. It's heritage here on the bus. Of course, when I'm on, it's got to be on a Friday night. I've got to be joined by Canada's favourite Tim and the wise man of the bus, Liam Greenlaw. Welcome again on a Friday night. How are you doing tonight?
Doing great, man. Just beautiful. Look at the sun. Beautiful sun today. So that's why I'm all lovely and bathed in light to.
I bet it's cold though.
I'm good, Phil. Really good.
Good stuff, mate. Good stuff. But yeah, I'm looking forward to another chat again. It's been pretty tough recently, Liam, watching the Celtic, but I'm sure we'll get through it as always, man. We'll find a way to get through with all the help of the live viewers as well. There's already 40 of you watching live. So, of course, before we go any further, just remember, folks, to do all that good stuff that helps us out. Old algorithm, CSC, as I like to say. In fact, I saw a comment on one of the videos this week where somebody was like, oh my God, I've only just discovered this channel. And he actually used the word algorithm. And I'm like, yes, that's why the algorithm's important. Because obviously likes and whatnot makes it an active channel, and it's more likely that YouTube will promote us. So by all means, hit that like button while you're here. Of course, you can hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so yet, and keep us in your life that wee bit longer. Of course, you can share the link of the Boise Bus far and wide, however you wish, and get involved in our comment section tonight, like people are already doing. A lot of the regulars are in. We've got Ali, we've got David Kelly, Jim C., Gary Brown, Stuart Miller. I've already given him a shout out as well. But yes, welcome all along, folks. Get involved in our comments tonight as we look forward to Scottish Cup action, because Celtic are facing St Mirren this weekend. The defence of the Scottish Cup, it's almost hard to remember that we're actually defending champions in the Scottish Cup. Things have been so negative recently, Liam, so doom and gloom. But yes, it is a trophy that we are still the holders of, and we'll be focusing on that for this episode. And of course, also another thing to remember is head over to piesports.com and use the code BUS1888 and get 12.5% off your tasty pastry treats. And with all that said and done, yes, Liam, let's talk about it, mate. I know you were on PMP through the week, the Hibs game. I've not had a chance to have a say on the Hibs game. Not as much to talk about, but I'm sure we'll touch on that at some point tonight. But yeah, St Mirren this coming weekend. It's in Paisley we're playing. It's away now. Originally, Fireplay advertised this game as being Saturday night, 5:30 kickoff, but then it got changed to Sunday lunchtime. So yeah, they have moved the kickoff time around. I don't know why that was, if it clashed with something else or they've put another game on. But yeah, we are on Sunday, so I need to remember that throughout tonight. But yeah, this is one of these games, one of these like tricky ones, because you know I still maintain, despite what's going on around the club, I still feel like we will limp our way to the title. It'll be touch and go, but I think we'll just squeak it. But if you ask me the question, do I think Celtic will win the double? I'm a little more concerned. And it's games like this one coming, Liam, that worry me, because we've already seen this season, Kilmarnock League Cup, very similar sort of, fixture, but a stodgy one. If you don't get off to a good start, it can make it difficult for you. And yes, St Mirren away. Is it the type of fixture we need right now? Is it going to be a distraction? Is it something that, because we beat them quite convincingly before the January break, Liam? So are we going to see a repeat of that? Is it going to be one that we can kickstart our season? Will that last minute goal on Wednesday night be what invigorates us and we come flying out the traps on Sunday and blow them away like we did a few weeks ago? How are you feeling ahead of it, Liam, before we get into the finer details of it?
I think St Mirren was our bogey team last year. Even the day Ange, when we were steamrolling and that, and when we started to go in that downward slide, I think it was the St Mirren game. I mean, one of the things, I hope we don't wear that stupid grey, greeny strip because why it's really hard to watch on the telly. And so it must be hard as a player as well. And we never seem to play well when we wear that one, especially against them. And St Mirren, I don't know, they always step up against us. They were I think they were the first team to try and figure us out and actually start attacking us again. And I thought they'd done really, really well against us last year. And they've had some odd results here and there. I think it's when they've got a full team and that, and they'll be without Quan, which is really, really well for them. I don't know if Mark O'Hara's playing that, but he seems to up his game against us. He always have a very good game when we play them. I think I'm glad we've got a team like St Mirren. We need a team like St Mirren to get us out of this. I don't know what it is that we're in, this wee bit of a tailspin, you know.
Yeah.
We need a good competitive match, and to blow away a team that's trying and playing well against us. Just go out there and show some dominance, you know. Of like, we're the treble champions, we're the reigning cup holders, you know. It's like, just go out and show that, you know. So we've talked about this so many times on Friday and Feelings, Phil. It's like, what do you think Brendan's going to show up with? Like, what Brendan are we going to see? Are we going to see the, you know, calm Brendan on a, like, did you watch his interview today?
I've heard the audio clips of it, and I've seen him making a wee jibe about the blue card thing, which I don't know how much you've heard about that, Liam, but that's something that apparently they're looking to introduce. But that's another story, another crazy story from the world of football. But that's the only thing I've really seen. But I did see his post-match comments after the Hibs game on Wednesday night for Celtic TV, and some of the things he's saying were not computing, but that's not the first time this season where what he's saying is very, very different to what we're seeing with our own eyes on the park. But anyway, continue.
I mean, that last game, when it was done, there wasn't that sense of relief for all that. There was more of a sense of, fuck, we're worse than I thought we were. You know, I think we've got more challenges that we need. Now we've got Johnson, looks like he's going to be out of the framework for as well. So, and again, I think he should have been dropped a while ago.
Yep.
So obviously you want to see somebody to leave the team. I mean, what he has in this is his second head knock this year. The second time plus games due to a head injury. So your doctor's got to watch that boy and make sure he's all right, because I thought there was a potential fracture, and you get still idiots on there going, "Oh, you can't go for a ball now." It's like, boy, that's the reason you can't do that stuff, because you're putting other players' lives in life, you know, in danger when you go up without any sort of self-restraint, you know, and going for these balls in the air and stuff, you know. And I've noticed that as well. Like, players seem to be just a lot less, I don't know, just throwing it about there more, like they're wearing padding or something, you know. And it's you know, it's going to result in a bad injury if we keep doing that sort of stuff. So I'm hoping that settles itself out okay. And where are we?
No, the thing is, with concussion and stuff being so, like, you know, important nowadays in sport. I mean, Chris Sutton in particular is very passionate about the concussion stuff. So, yeah, obviously he had to go off it. You know, I heard the same story as you about a fracture, but I didn't know exactly what bone it is, if it's his cheekbone or if it's maybe the side of the head or whatever. But I just heard it very vaguely described as he's got a fracture. But yeah, in terms of what it actually is, I don't quite know at the moment. But obviously that's serious stuff. And I mean, as a good example, a case in point is many years ago, Chelsea's goalkeeper Petr Cech suffered a fracture to his skull and had to wear protective headgear for the rest of his playing career. Remember that? He had to wear the sort of rugby protection. So that was Petr Cech, the Chelsea keeper, had to do that. So. As else, and there was another player I'm sure played for Inter Milan, a Romanian defender that also had to wear similar gear. Is that going to happen with Alistair Johnson if it's quite a serious fracture? Well, depending what part of the head it is, who knows? But yeah, it's obviously serious stuff, and yeah, we do wish him a speedy recovery. Yes, he hasn't been playing at his absolute best, but at the end of the day, no, we need to get him back as soon as possible. Hopefully, in time for the title run-in, because as I say, it's going to be touch and go right up to the end, but. In terms of what happened there with him and going into this game, it's a story of the season, Liam. You know, another day, another dollar, another Celtic injury, another one to just add to the list right now. One with Carter Vickers, Hatate, and numerous others. Just feels like a lot of players can't catch a break right now. We are basically heading into this game with a potential backline of Ralston, Scales, Welsh, who also seems to be absolutely brittle as well and keeps going off injured, but he might be starting. Maybe it's Nawrocki. And it looks like Brendan and The Bhoys might keep his place. There was talk that your favourite person, Greg Taylor, might make it back. And that's what it's come to, Liam. People are like, God, I hope Greg Taylor's back soon. That is generally what it's come to. But Brendan and The Bhoys, oh man, like Wednesday night there, I don't know if you've seen this tweet doing the rounds. Somebody had posted like a stats bomb, as it's called, right? And it's all the things that Brendan and The Bhoys did during the game. And the first two lines of what he'd done just summed the guy up. And it was like, 10 balls won, 10 interceptions made essentially. So it was like, and then in brackets it said game high. So basically, of all the players on the park on Wednesday night for both teams, he got the most interceptions. But then the next stat down was most balls given away, 10 on the night. So for everything good that he did with all the interceptions, he gave just as many away. And I think that summed up Bernabei perfectly. But yeah, Taylor might make it back, Liam. As I say, your favourite player. But yeah, as I say, I have seen people genuinely like willing for Greg Taylor to be back, and that's where we are at the moment with the left back position, Liam. Can you believe it?
Careful what you wish for, as Brendan used to say. You know, some of the stuff I've seen on Twitter, you know, some of the stuff I get aimed at me as well. A couple of messages like, this is showing you the importance of Taylor to the team and all that. I'm going, I don't think we're playing this way because Greg Taylor's no there, because we dropped points when Greg Taylor was there. And that whole thing about Greg Taylor, I think he's just an avatar. He's just like, he is that. Look at the team sheet and just show you that we've neglected in building a strong team. And that was always my thing. As long as I looked in and he's there, it just shows me the board wasn't doing their job. You know, and I think Bernabei, I don't know, give him another game. I mean, you're right, he is. You know, 10 interceptions, that's him chasing his own boss. He's firing in the park. But I don't see him being any worse than Greg Taylor. And if, you know, Greg Taylor, I don't really say does a lot of shouting on the park and all that, but I don't know how that creates any value for anybody because, you know, like he points where he wants the ball to go after he's passed it back. I mean, it's just one more person to pass it back to Scales and McGregor. You know, in the last game, Joe Hart was getting in on the action. When was the last time you seen Joe Hart touch the ball that many times?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, the old passing sideways and passing back. In fact, touching on some of the stuff for Wednesday night, because of the camera angle at Easter Road, it's quite high up. So it does, when you're watching it on TV, you can see a lot more of the game. And there was a point in the first half. I said this to my dad as I was watching it, because obviously he's like, you know, getting frustrated watching. It was a period where Scales and Welsh just proceeded to keep passing it sideways to each other. Which you could say, what part of the game was that? It could be any part of the game, but there was one bit in particular in the first half. It was just very prominent. It was literally like a 2-minute spell of just sideways passing because there was nothing else on. But I say, because the camera angle was quite high at Easter Road, you can see what the other Celtic players are doing. So I was making like a conscious effort to watch them. And it was so lethargic. It was like none of them were making any sort of darting moves to try and give them some options, try to pull a Hibs player out of position. It was very much, they were all just standing there, maybe moving a little bit within a 5-yard space. Every one of them had a Hibs player pretty much hanging off their shoulder, essentially. It's like, you've got to give them some options here. And again, it just seemed to sum up the kind of lethargic nature of our play, or across maybe it's the attitude of the team. Again, this blends into the whole, has Brendan really still got the dressing room on his side with some of the things he said, some of the tactics he's trying to implement, where the players just aren't making the runs, and it's like they don't look like I don't know, I don't want to say they're not up for it, but there was just something during that period. I was just watching the rest of the team to see, like, I'm frustrated watching Welsh and Scales just pass it sideways. I hate it as well. But I'm like, will somebody at least try and make a decent run so they can try and pick you out? But it just kind of summed up, and yeah, that performance only just descended into madness in the second half. As I said last week on the Sunday Blarer, after the Aberdeen game, the Hibs game followed a similar pattern. First half, relatively comfortable, dominant in possession, not really doing much with it in the final third. And then the second half, a wild game of football just breaks out of nowhere, and we just look spooked, much like Aberdeen, and Hibs did the same thing. And I just worry that if Sunday, if St Mirren, if we get to half time and it's 0-0, or maybe we're just winning 1-0 and they're still in it, could be a similar pattern where they just come out with no fear, because it's a cup game. There's nothing real. It's like there's no points on the line. They're not battling relegation. There's not a European place they're trying to hold on to. It's like, look, it's win or bust essentially. So they could come out second half and could spook us like teams have been doing recently. So realistically, we've got to be looking at getting 2 goals ahead by half time. That's what you've got to see, is we're looking at right now for Celtic. And I say, when you look at that passage of play and it sums up this kind of microcosm of how things are going right now, it's like they don't it's like they don't have the drive to push on and put these teams to bed early, because I say we're doing enough dominance wise in games to put these teams away, but the final third just lacking something there, aren't we?
We said it there. I mean, it takes us 2 goals now. Usually you get that one early goal and you can relax. all right, we've got this. But recent games have just said, no, not even that. I think teams have just been able to judge us better, and making the adjustments in game. Whereas we don't seem to be making, once they make that adjustment, we don't seem to be following up on anything or tactics in any way. I've not seen anything of Rodgers changing the tactics in as far as shape or formation and that. And we're still doing the same thing. We've got that fucking horseshoe, which is like handcuffs for us. It's like this wall that goes back, and it just seems to be getting deeper and deeper into the style of play that we're adapting to. Welsh didn't look comfortable with the ball when he gave it to him. He was always looked to give it back to Hales. And if anybody near him or anywhere close, he was getting it back to Hart or back to Welsh again. But you knew it was coming right back. You know that you're going to find some players with a lot more skill and speed in that up front. Everybody's looking for that pass going across the back now. So that's why I'm surprised we've not been picked off yet with an interception for that. Like the same way Izan did against Rangers, or, Turnbull's done well when we were playing them. So that's the one thing I'm looking at for St Mirren's, to make sure it's all right. Let's not get too casual and too comfortable in the way we play the ball around at the back, so that it just that's our option. And while they're reshaping, they've got that one guy up there poaching that's going to try and steal it off us. So
yeah, that is a concern. And the thing is, last season, if you remember as well, St Mirren, they did cause us some problems with big Cuts Main up front, a big clogger, a bit of a physical battle. And again, when Hibs up the ante a wee bit on Wednesday night, and Aberdeen as well, started getting a wee bit more physical, roughing us up. The Kilmarnock game earlier in the season, just before sort of Christmas, where we lost to Kelly and we lost to Hearts, again, it was like second half, they just began roughing us up a wee bit, a lot of long balls just to try and disrupt us. And yeah, we just seemed so panicked, and it was like, I can't believe the way we disintegrate. And that's what I say, it worries me. These sort of tricky ties like St Mirren, it's like, maybe we would have been better drawing Rangers or something like that in the cup, because I don't know, it's like these wee teams seem to be spooking us a lot more than the big ties, because we've actually, when it came to the two games against them, we've passed those ones. But yeah, these ones that are the worrying ones. And say St Mirren, they are still going well. I mean, they battered Hibs before we played them. So, of course, we made hard work of it, but we got there in the end. But, we'll just see what happens. I've also seen as well in the chat that apparently the reason we were moved from the Saturday night slot is because Rangers game has been moved to the Saturday night slot, and we're on the Sunday, because I think they were supposed to have a Sunday 4 o'clock at Ibrox against Ayr United, but apparently they're now in the Saturday night one. So somebody in the chat had said that. So there you go. That's why we've been moved. But at least we've not got the 4 o'clock on a Sunday, because you're waiting all weekend for the game. So at least it's a lunchtime one. But yeah, in terms of, say, the defence, we'll go back to that. Say it's going to be Ralston's going to definitely start, because we don't have any other option, and Johnson's obviously out for the foreseeable. The other centre-back position, say, Welsh obviously took a bit of a knock, and he looked shaken on Wednesday night when Hibs put the pressure on us. Nawrocki maybe comes back in there as a huge upgrade at the moment. I think Nawrocki should be getting more chance. I mean, we spent a decent wad of cash on this guy. The very fact that he can't get in ahead of the likes of Stevie Welsh is quite damning. But then again, Brendan does see them in training every day. So who am I to judge? Scales obviously keep his place. I say it looks like it probably Bernabei that does stay in. I don't know if Taylor will come back instantly be into the team. But what about Nawrocki then, or Welsh? Because I agree what you say about Welsh as well. He did look like he just wanted to just get rid of the ball as quickly as possible at times, which is weird, because a few of the games that he has played this season, like Feyenoord, and when he was playing against Rangers just at the turn of the year there, he was doing all right. But of course, both games ended with a similar thing. He went down and got injured, and of course happened to the Hibs game as well, where he took a knock and he had to go off as well. But yeah, Nawrocki, I would probably put him back in. If Welsh has taken a knock on Wednesday night and had to go off, I'd say just get Nawrocki back in alongside Scales for the time being.
Aye, I mean, Lagerbielke, he's completely fell out.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine him to make an appearance on the bench. Don't see him starting, but I mean, if you were to have a wee bit of imagination, him and Mike Nawrocki played really, really well together. When they played, they were like, I don't think they let up a goal between them. And then push Scales to left back. See if we can get.
Yeah. We keep willing this. I said this last week. You and I seem to be trying to manifest this to happen, and it just doesn't. And I'm just got to the point where I just concede defeat now, Liam, on that one. I just don't think it's ever going to happen, mate. It's just not for Brendan to do.
But imagine it does happen and he ends up becoming the next, like a Kieran Tierney type. It's like, okay, well, like right now, I don't see I think Scales looks really, really good in Champions League because I think he's a really good defender. I think when balls are coming high in the air, when I think it's just challenging for a ball, I think he's really good. Giving the ball at his feet where he has to make something and do something creative with it, that's where you start to see his game falling apart right now. Even with the amount of minutes he's played this year, he still doesn't look comfortable with the ball at his feet. And that showed last game, and that's why the horseshoes is where it is. But I'm expecting more for our captain to come up and take the ball off him. During when he was first trying to implement this system, that was what I noticed, that like McGregor would come back really deep and he would give the ball. And sometimes he would do it when it was like contested and there was players there. They would find a wee 10-yard pass to McGregor and then he would turn and find a 10-yard pass. And we were working the ball up the middle and penetrating rather than this, going around the shield again and hoping that the guy that's on the wing that's done nothing creative or game and not being able to beat a man is somehow going to do something with it. And, wee Kyogo's just saying hee-haw, So maybe Scales is not the guy right now for us to do it, especially in a game here. And I'd like to see it. Just give him a shot. I don't think it could be any worse than what we're seeing for Taylor or Bernabeu.
Yeah, well, it's interesting you bring up that McGregor thing because that is something that I've noticed this season as well. There was moments last year, the last 2 years under Ange, where he was willing to drop really deep, pick that ball up and play quite dangerous passes, essentially, a bit of a risky pass rather than just a wee safe 5-yard one to the side. And I think the one that always stands out in my mind, I remember saying at the time on one of the shows we did after we beat Rangers in the League Cup final back in March, and obviously we went 2-0 up and we were pretty comfortable, but then Morelos got one back for them and we were, again, a bit spooked. What a surprise, a wee bit spooked by it. But under the sort of last half hour, we were under the cosh a wee bit, but there were moments where McGregor just seemed to, just be a calming influence, even though he was dropping deep and picking up the ball, and you get a wee bit edgy because you're like, oh no, they might, press us high here, but he seemed willing to take the risks. But nowadays under Brendan Ball, essentially, it's not, those risks aren't really there, and it's, as you say, the horseshoe is probably the best way to describe it. Just keep passing sideways and knock it out wide, and then try and find a way around wide, but don't try and do anything risky through the middle. In fact, a comment that did come up earlier as we, again, I think it goes without saying that, this is a, I can't get it to come up just now in terms of the start one, but it was about Hatate and those risky passes that he takes and how much we really need him. But again, with the way his seasons went, Liam, it's like even before he got injured there, like Brendan wasn't really playing him that much. And when he did get a start and then he got injured again, and his season's been so stop-start, but he does take those risky passes. Sometimes it can be a bit detrimental, no doubt about it. There has been times where we've kind of been caught in the counter-attack because he's took a bit of a overtly risky pass, but it's I think this type of thing we really need at the moment. But then again, would Brendan be in his ear just basically telling him, don't do that, just stick to what I'm telling you to do? I'd like to think that, some of the players out there have got a wee bit of, especially they must be able to tell that it's not going perfectly right now. Surely they must have some sort of, I don't know, creative freedom essentially to kind of go for it. I mean, I don't want to use this guy as like, this is like the blueprint, but I was talking to Russell about this one and Mark, it was last Sunday just after the Blair, we're having a chat about it, and I don't know if you've ever seen this, Liam, but see on Cy Ferry's channel, Open Goal, one of the earliest interviews he did was with Charlie Mulgrew, and he asked him about what was the transition like going from a manager like Neil Lennon to Ronnie Dyler, and he said, like, Ronnie obviously wanted to do things tactical. It was very tactical with Ronnie, but with Lenny, it was very much like there wasn't much tactics. And most of his team talks and most of it was just like, look, we're Celtic. We're better than this team. Basically, go out there and find a way to win. It's like the way things are going right now, we kind of need the manager to just give them a bit of freedom and just say, if it ain't working with what I'm telling you to do, find essentially, usable in addition. They're professional football players. They are winners. They've shown it. Surely to God, they can find a way through these teams instead of sticking to the, this like very regimented way that we're playing at the moment. There has to be somebody that's willing to take a wee chance here and there.
Well, I mean, it's different these days. Right? You look at our recruitment. Ange recruited a lot of these players, and I think a lot of Ange's recruitment, or some coaches' recruitment, are based on players that will follow direction. Take direction really well. I work with actors, right? And so it's the same thing. It's like there's some actors that can riff and go off and do their own things and be creative and all that. But for some projects I'm doing, that would just drive me mental. I need you to stick to the script and take direction and do exactly what I tell you. Ange very much looked like that type of manager. And I think when you see players like Alistair Johnson, even Greg Taylor, I'll give us credit, being able to take something that Ange tells you and then deliver that to a way that makes you even look a better player than you are. Well, that might be the type of players we have. If Palmer was given a strict role and a very short leash in how he fulfills that role, whereas, Ange giving players a hairdryer treatment and, going mental when we were passing it back.
That clip's been doing the rounds a lot this week on Twitter. Stop passing it back.
I think we need that through. Attach that to the disco lights in the stadium so that we can just, come out the tannoid. But I think we got some players as well. Maybe they just need direction, and then when given that freedom, they don't excel in that role. Whereas given a tactical role to play, where it's like, okay, like Alistair Johnson, I think, is a guy that benefits well from having a really good coach, and then here's your responsibilities, and here's what you have to do, and go out there and do that. It's when you have to start thinking with the ball. Liam Scales, as soon as he gets the ball at his feet, and he has to think about what he's going to do with it and how he influence and shape the game. One, he's running out of time because he doesn't think that fast, and then two, I don't know, he just doesn't seem to have that in his makeup. But if it's like, okay, don't give that guy a kick of the ball. This guy's going to be on you. Don't get more than, don't let him more than five yards away for you at any time. Just stick on him. I want to make sure that you nullify anything that he does. Well, those are all direction and stuff that you can take that some players can sell in. I like to roll. Like when I played football, despite being creative off the park, on the park, I was like, no, just give me a roll. Tell me who to attack. That's it.
But my dad's been saying the exact same stuff to me recently, saying, see, when I used to play, it wasn't this and that. It was like, that's your guy, that's who you're marking, stick to him, essentially all game and stuff like that. But everything needs to be micromanaged nowadays. I've said that a few times on the show. Footballers nowadays, they all like to be mollycoddled. It's very rare now that you get a team and a bunch of players who can react to getting a bit of a bollocking. Instead, what they do is they take to Instagram and Twitter to moan about things and say how they're not happy. Look at Jadon Sancho, for instance, at Man United and whatnot and all that stuff. So, yeah, that's the day and age that we're in now. Gone are the days of a team that can react to those types of things. But, see, I'd like to think that those players out on the park, they can't be that satisfied with how it's going. I mean, obviously, we'll once we've went through the team and thought we'll look back at some of the stuff on Wednesday night, because again, body language can say a lot, and there was a few interesting bits of body language at the full-time whistle on a Wednesday night. But moving into the midfield, and I expect it's probably going to be the same three again. But again, with Celtic's midfield, it's such a crucial part of the team, and it just feels like whatever we had before that January break, which has sucked all the momentum out of this team, we've lost it. Bernardo was like, there was a wee period there where we were like, oh man, we need to pay the fee for this guy. But now we're kind of back to that, what does he do? What does he do thing? Where you're just like, what is he really bringing to the team here? O'Reilly, who was definitely a guy that was getting pass marks all season for the way he was going, and seemed to be one of the very few people that was definitely buying into whatever Brendan was selling. O'Reilly's having a quiet spell now. McGregor, we've already touched upon. I know Mark's been very vocal on his feelings on how McGregor's been playing, pretty consistent on that one all season. I have seen a name doing the rounds as well. I've seen it mentioned in our live chats on shows recently and on Twitter, people saying that could Iwata be the guy that comes back from nowhere right now? Because I did feel that when he was getting a little run of games in that very brief spell that he did, I think it benefited McGregor a wee bit more. for him to push forward a little bit. And I say we need something right now to spark the midfield. Midfield is many fans obviously say it around the world when it comes to football. Midfield pretty much wins you games. It's such an important part for every single team. And right now, I say we need something to just spark us into life in the middle. But realistically, I think it's going to be the three that we've been seeing. But I think there is a case there for a while. Whatever Brendan's got against him, whatever it is, I don't know. But it's quite bizarre that, again, if he can genuinely look at what's going on and go, yeah, we'll stick with that three. Everything's going really well there. And it's like, it's not, man. It's not. But could we see a wild Iwata appear from nowhere? Or you think it's going to be those three again, Liam?
I'd like to see Iwata. I thought Bernardo was really frustrating the last couple of games. You know, I've seen somebody putting supposedly they want 3 million or something, and somebody posted right on Twitter, let us get back to you on that one. You know, you're right. You know, after the Rangers game, we were so emotional and all that and stuff. It's like, I paid him the money. This guy looks like he's really coming in. But we've seen that with Palmer this year. We've seen that with a number of people. I mean, Iwata's still a bit of a mystery. I don't know how he plays yet. Yeah. You know, we've not seen enough of him. I know how David Turnbull plays, but now I can watch, he's doing it West Brom or Cardiff. You know, that seemed like another part of it, like for Brendan to try and rinse, like somehow he thinks there's a player in there that's something that we haven't seen. You know, supposedly he watched all our games last year and he couldn't tell that David Turnbull, you know, despite his stats of scoring goals and that, just add anything to the dynamism in their midfield. So Bernardo, I think, is the same way. He's David Turnbull without the shooting boots. So I'd love to see Iwata in there. Odin home. As they drop to Thiago, I don't know. He's not playing Thiago like Odin either. So maybe it's just a March or something. But what's happened to him? You know, I don't know.
Scored against Bucky Thistle and hasn't been seen since. He's pretty much that's him disappeared into the abyss as well.
Scoring in Rodgers' team, it's like, wait a minute, it's, you don't get drug tested. You get sat on the bench and try deprogrammed or something, because the same thing happened with Lagerbielke. Scores a goal and then we don't see him again.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean that's one of the strange things. I've seen a comment come up earlier about how he's just been so badly mismanaged, and it's so true. I mean, the boy was pretty much told he was surplus to requirements, then was at the 11th hour basically recalled because Carter Vickers is injured, so you've got to stay, son, whether you like it or not. So what's that going to do for that boy's career? And I say now he hasn't even been in any of the match day squads since being kept behind to cover for Carter Vickers. So God knows. But again, that's another player that we spent about 3 million on. You know, between him and Nawrocki, the two of them, like £7.5 million or whatever it was, it came to in the summer, which for Celtic is quite a big drop in the ocean for us. And the two of them, just Nawrocki's getting wee games here and there, but Lagerbielke, a visible man at the moment. Mark Rowan, an interesting point, something that I've said many times on here, and I don't understand it, because especially when you're playing teams that will sit deep where, the low block, as they call it. He's asked this before, but what exactly are they working on every day at Lennoxtown? Corners, throw-ins, creativity in the final word. When it comes to set pieces and corners, these are the types of things against these sort of St Mirren's, Ross counties and all that you need to, if you can't break them down in open play, you've got to rely on them. But again, our conversion ratio off of like corners and free kicks is absolutely abysmal. We scored off of one corner this season, or just before Christmas there against Livingston, and the last one before that was don't know, I can't even remember when it was. Free kick wise, direct free kicks, maybe the last one was Jota in the Bernabeu last season. Was it that one? I generally can't remember at all. So we haven't got a consistent corner taker. Penalties, well, we'll get on to talk about penalties pretty soon on that one, because we might have actually found somebody that can hit a competent penalty, but that's just like a long-running joke now with Celtic, how bad our penalties are. But set pieces are so vital against these types of teams. If it's not working for you in open play, you can at least rely on something there. But do we practice them? I remember I mentioned this before. I'm sure somebody in the chat said that Ange had said while he was Celtic manager that they don't practice set pieces at Celtic, and it was like, why? Well, first of all, you're the manager. Why is that not a thing? And if that's continued under Brendan, then it's like, why would you not be doing this? This is a vital part. We talk about Palmer all the time and his delivery. Going by his YouTube highlights, which I know you shouldn't always judge it on, I got the impression he was a set-piece specialist with some of the corners he was delivering and free kicks he was scoring. But his corner ratio at the moment has been poor. It feels like he's trying to always score direct for the corner, which is absolutely absurd. At the end of the day, if we're struggling in a game and we need a winner, we can't be trying to score direct from the corner, like try to ping it in from out wide. It's like, come on, man, you need to be getting it in the middle and try and get it onto somebody's head. You can't be just going for goal. That's a waste most of the time. How often in world football do you see somebody score direct off of a corner? But it generally feels like that's what he's trying to do. But yeah, that's something that they have to massively do. Throw-ins as well. You even mentioned throw-ins there. Like, that's even changed. I talked about last week. There seems to be mix-ups at Celtic Park between the ball boys and the players. We also get the instance where fans very clumsily throw the ball back on the park when they've already got a ball on the park, and that causes the play to get stopped. So it causes any momentum that gets stopped. So even that's a mess right now. But yeah, there's a lot of things that they need to work on. And as Brendan said on Wednesday night, Liam, they basically got 14 games now to solve it. They've got to just play with their heart and soul, I believe was his words that he used on Wednesday night. And it's like, well, yeah, they better start playing with something. Heart and soul, that's the very minimum they should be playing with here. Because, 14 games essentially in the league to sort this and make sure that they get over that finish line first. And, there's still a lot that needs to be fixed, isn't it, Liam?
I mean, soul, that's something that's completely missing for this team this year. We just don't seem to have it. It's like, even the celebrations at the end of the game doesn't look, it's fractured now, right? See Kyogo holding back at the end.
I did see that, yeah.
I think he's one of the guys that's just on merit, like he's not going to go up to the front unless he thinks he's deserving of it, and he's just being a bit humble and a bit too shy about it. But, you look at some of them, the way they're up, fucking Brendan, running up to the fans there. And like, that wasn't, you made that hard. That wasn't a hard fought win. That was you made win really, really hard. Big difference. I said that as well, was that I didn't have that feeling like when you just nipped it, and you got something at the end of the game. I was like, like the Tony Ralston winner, or it's St Johnstone or Ross County. No, it just didn't have that because it just sort of like illuminated the fact that we've got some serious problems. Really, I mean, you're right. Even the throw-ins as well. We were getting that ball to the park, good, but I think we've got all these glory hunters now. The Palmer thing, that's frustrating as well because he looks like he's trying to get the Hollywood contract.
Yep.
Every shot, you're right, lining it up, skying it into the crowd. No, not even grazing the bar or anything, like nowhere near it, and then turning around with that daft smile. He's himself up to be a very, very greedy player. I think it's hard to you can look at a lot of stuff and you can gloss over the fact when you're playing well. When you're not playing well, everything's under scrutiny, everything's under a microscope, and he's came across as a very greedy player. And that's it. And even just like I don't want to see him smiling after he shoots. I want to see him getting stuck in. It's going crazy down here, Phil.
It sounds like it, aye, it does sound like it. But yeah, I agree on that. It's been weird with Palmer because I had such high hopes when he first joined the club, and I thought early on, especially some of the performance he put in. You look at the big Champions League nights, he was dead unlucky, obviously, with the Lazio thing, with the VAR disallowed goal. Obviously, he had a good performance, a good goal against Atletico Madrid. But yeah, against these wee teams, it's like, look, mate, I know you've got to Celtic and you get that the Champions League games. You have 6 guaranteed Champions League games because that's pretty much as far as we get. Although next season it might be 8 games, obviously, providing we're in it. But yeah, so it's like, but we've still got to, to get the Champions League games that you obviously like to show up in. It's like we need to actually beat your Motherwells and your Ross Counties and your St Mirrens. We've got to actually beat all these teams first. You've got to turn up in these games. It's not just about turning up in big nights against Atletico Madrid or Rangers games and stuff like that, the big fixtures. So we've still got to play all of these. The majority of the games we play are against these types of teams. The big ones only come along every so often. So it's like these ones, you've got to prioritise them first. You want the big prizes. You want the big matches, the big atmospheres. You've got to do the hard work first. You've got to do the donkey work, essentially. And yeah, that is what he's got to start doing. But yeah, the corners right now, it seems like no matter what side we take them from, no matter who takes them, yeah, it just seems like the consistency and the delivery is pretty abysmal right now. And same when we're up against teams that are playing a low block, these are things that you need. Now, there was a comment that I did highlight earlier on, Liam, that I'm going to bring up, and this is something that I've said to my dad as well when talking about it. It's something that I hate to see in football, but it is something that we do see in the modern game. Kind of leans into what I said earlier on, but a lot of players like being mollycoddled. They can't handle, being told off or whatever. But Pato has came in and said the elephant in the room, this is not a loss of form. This is a player rebellion. Now, again, using Man United as a great example, they have been a team over the last few years that have definitely downed tools in order to get managers out the door. I've seen Chelsea do it as well. Chelsea have been quite guilty of that. I hate to see it, even if it's like, a team that I've got no affiliation with at all, no interest in. I just hate to see it. Professional footballers at the end of the day. But if that is what's going on with the players, then they're playing with fire, because they might get their wish and they might get Brendan out the door, but the damage could seriously be done by then. And then Celtic fans, we've got very long memories. We don't forgive too easily. There's a lot of players who, despite all they did at the club, and Odsonne Edouard being a great example, for all the great stuff he did, he seems to be forever tarnished in many Celtic fans' mind because he's associated with that 10-in-a-row failure season. Despite the fact he scored about 25 goals that season, if there was one guy who actually did, when you look at the stats of it, he did bang in the goals, but he'll be forever tarnished because he's part of that. Ryan Christie, who definitely, did his part over the years that he played for Celtic, he'll always be tarnished for that 10-in-a-row season. Christopher Ayer, all these players. And it's like, well, if we throw away this league title, then these guys, they'll be forever tarnished. But to them, I suppose, Liam, it's just a job. They just move on to the next club, and what do they really care? I'd like to think that guys like Callum McGregor and stuff like that in that dressing room, they should be the types of guys that should be saying to them, we need to win this. Like, failure is not an option at this team. So if it is a rebellion, and if it is they are trying to get the manager sacked by downing tools, say, playing with fire, Liam.
I mean, you have to think where it's coming from. I mean, like, Callum McGregor's played for Rodgers before. I think he's maybe him and Ralph got Bain, only 3 players in that team that have played with Rodgers before. So he's new to the rest of them. And honestly, if you take Rodgers and you just look at him now of what you're getting, you didn't know anything about him before, and he came in this year. His style of coaching, his interviews, he's fucking hell, man. He's like Beale now. He's just like he's Beale with a much better accent.
Beale with a Gucci belt, as Graham Turrell says, they get the Gucci belt out.
Gucci Beale. And I listen to him now, and I don't believe anything he says now. I really don't. And I find that I think that's the one, his legacy of what he has moving forward for the last time, is despite of everything, nobody believes him. It'd be the same if Ange came back as well too. Once you've got that trust with the supporters, you can't expect the team to sort of go on in that as well, because some of the team are supporters as well. They're here for their friends and their families and stuff as well. And and you see him coming back, and so everything that he does negatively gets amplified. If you're winning, it's fine. Everybody's there. But as soon as when you walked out on us when you're winning, and then you come back and you can't win again, well, you're not back because we really liked you. You're back because you were winning. And once they do it, then it becomes, then it becomes like bitter in a sense. And I was right on the bus with everybody else. I think most days were, like really, really happy to see Rodgers, because it was just like, despite everything, he's got that elite manager tag. Well, that elite manager tag now is like fading really bad. I don't see that at all. And the way right now as well, we thought he came in with a point where he had the board by the balls, and that back into the fans. We all like, okay, so you left and you want to make us understand why you left because you had a problem with the board and that. Okay, this is a chance where we all know that right now you hold the power. So what are you going to do with that power? Speak up for the fans as well, because you sort of owe us one. and that level. If we're going to take you back and embrace you, and then as soon as he start becoming a board apologist, and it's hard to get, it's hard to get players, it's this and that, then he lost any of that goodwill that people were, that grace that people were willing to give him coming back is now completely gone. I look at his football, it's absolutely dire. I try and watch EPL now and again, but honestly, I find it boring and all that. And I tried to watch a couple of games where Leicester was involved over the last couple of years. And I found them fucking torture to watch. It was just like, guys that should be running triathlons playing football, just it doesn't. But there was no creativity to it and stuff, and that seems to be Rodgers' football. He came up here, he did really well because he had something to prove. I don't think he came back feeling he had anything to prove again, and that's just totally apparent right now that we can see that, like the optics right now is that of a guy through the motions and just happy that we are there with an elite manager that's not showing any way an elite performance. I think, it makes you wonder how much of the work Chris Davies did.
That's true, yeah. That's a fair shout. Yep.
Don't seem to have any tactics, any game news. Like even the substitutes are fucking. Ange wasn't great at substitutes either. It was like 66 minutes. But Rodgers just seems to be. You wonder why. You're screaming out for a point, and David Turnbull or Boris comes on, and
he's became a reactive manager, much like the club in general being a reactive club. Although you could debate that with the way the January window went. He's became a reactive manager. Hibs equalised on Wednesday night, and then suddenly it was, it's a triple substitution or a double substitution. In fact, when Aberdeen got their goal, it's a triple substitution like 3 minutes later, and it's like, the way things were going. Somebody pushed it and came out for the second half against Aberdeen, for example. But he waits till Aberdeen took the lead, and then it's like 3 subs all at once, and it's like he's being reactive. It feels like I did see a comment left on one of the videos, it might be in the TNF last night, just saying, like, how many managers do you know in world football, or how many clubs do you know in world football have basically kept the same backroom staff and have basically pushed them onto 3 different managers, essentially? Because obviously you had Neil Lennon in his second spell, and then Ange, and now Brendan Rodgers comes back, and it's like they're just. I agree with that point. It's like I have never known any club anywhere to do such a thing where it's the same assistant and the same first team coaches and stuff all stay, and then a new manager comes in. They're just like, here's your hand. Play that hand. This is what we're giving you, and it's like, I know he got to bring somebody in recently because Harry Kewell left, but I don't think that's exactly pulling up trees.
Adam Sadler.
Adam Sadler, I think it is, which is just obviously not too far away from Adam Sandler. This is a bad comedy. It really is at the moment, Celtic. We are not laughing.
And I don't know. I didn't know what he did at Leicester, and I think it's like you see in managers like artists or something like that. It's like sometimes you just lose it. You lose that. If Rodgers is one of these motivational type managers, you see it in business all the time.
Yeah.
When I worked in advertising, you refresh, fire creative directors all the time because there's only so many times you can go back to this team and try and inspire them and motivate them and all that with the same stuff, and trying to make it look fresh and all that sort of stuff. You're one of those people, work off a format, which a lot of football managers do. I don't think got that motivational skill anymore that can work on players that are coming from different parts of the world and from a different, even just like different ages. I saw the difference between I had 40-year-olds working for me, 30-year-olds, and then some 20-year-olds, and each of them were different. And especially the 20-year-olds came in. Just so much different now and so much different values and stuff than what we had. You don't get as many of the throwback players. Maybe Jota's one, but even Jota had a bit of a new age vibe to him, and Matt O'Reilly. Every time he goes doing that and for treatment, I expect him to pull out some scented candles at the treatment bag.
Yeah, man.
Pictures and all that before the game. But I think there's a different mindset as well, and I don't know if Rodgers' motivational type tactics work on these players. Well, they obviously don't, because they don't seem to be working. You know. So, how do you think? Like, what is Rodgers' strong points right now, Phil? What do you think makes him an elite manager right now? I don't see it in tactics. I don't see it in motivation. He's not been able to pull a back room staff that is like, you know, just firing on cylinders at, you know, second to none. Recycled what he's got there. What else makes a good manager? It's not recruitment, because you have an idea about recruitment or have connections with players or agents. I mean, who's his dad do? You know, does he have one? You know?
Yeah. Well, one of the things that was quite curious, one of the things we spoke about when he got the job, when he came back, was when we looked at his first spell in charge, one thing he was good at was he took a team that essentially, even though they'd won the league the season before, let's be honest, that second season under Ronnie was turgid and we limped over that line. It was a lot closer than it needed to be. We didn't win the other two trophies, only won the league that season. The bare minimum, essentially, we get embarrassed in Europe, which still get doing this day, but it was a Europa League that season. It was bloody Mulder, the Norwegian team, beat us home and away, and I think we had Fenerbahce and Ajax that season, but yeah, it was a pretty turgid season. But he came in and they went from being, you know, just a sort of broken team that limped over the line, couple of new players, and we go unbeaten in all three domestic competitions the next season. And we played in the Champions League. Okay, we got stuffed and still finished bottom, but we did give Man City a couple of scares along the way. But given where they were, just a few months before, it was like the performance he got out of some players. Scott Brown found a new lease of life. And obviously the one that we all point at, a player that was on the scrap heap that summer, Stuart Armstrong. So a lot of us thought when he was coming back, who's going to be the Stuart Armstrong of this team? Who's going to be the guy that in a season's time we're going, wow, I cannot believe the season that guy's had. Like, I can't believe he had that in him. What a performance, what a player. Some people thought maybe David Turnbull, the first game of the season, he scored 2 on the opening day, but that was obviously not going to be. And then I picked Dyson Maeda. I thought Maeda was going to come on to something, but he's been just very inconsistent. You know, pretty much what he was under Ange, when he was capable of something amazing, but then 2 minutes later, something absolutely drastic. But then this season, so one guy that people might point to, though, Liam, is they might say, well, Liam Scales. But here's the funny bit. Did you hear the interview that he did when he was asked about, it was after one of the games, maybe about October, November time, and I was listening to the radio coming up the road, and somebody asked him about Liam Scales, and he said, oh, it's been the biggest surprise of my managerial career. He wasn't taking any credit for it at all. He was basically saying, I didn't know that was coming. You'd think with the ego that he's got, and he has got, and it's not a bad thing for a manager to have an ego. Ange had one, you know, you've got to have a bit of an ego. You'd think Brendan would have went, yeah, never doubted him. You know, I always believed in him and stuff, to give him a real boost, a real bit of confidence. Like, I knew he had that in him. But instead, he just kind of shrugged his shoulders and was like, I didn't see that coming. I was just being like, the biggest surprise of my managerial career was the words he used. And it was like, wow, I really did think that Brendan would be all over that. So, yeah, Scales has probably been the success, but even the manager himself isn't taking any credit for it, which is just bizarre. So that, and again, what's he good at? Tactically right now, it's just very much just ball retention, passing it sideways for the sake of it, no real killer touch. A lot of players that don't look like they're playing well. And yeah, you're saying the recruitment. How often have we said it now? We're out of breath saying it about we were waiting for the Brendan signings to come in, and I just don't think we can attest any of them to being a Brendan signing, despite him saying things like I sign off on all the signings or all the players, and I'm really happy with the whole setup here. And it's like, again, it's like what you're saying, Brendan, does not correlate with what we're seeing with our own eyes. It's a very weird situation, Liam, overall.
I'd love to be a fly in the wall in that, you know, management office or wherever it is at the day of the work. I mean, imagine doing like a work shadow or something with Mike Nicholson. You know, it's like,
yep.
I really, really wonder. As soon as that window slams shut, did the feet just go back up in the desk again? Did the filing cabinet with all the names in it just get slammed shut at the same time as the window? and it was like, oh, thank fuck we don't have to do that again to end of May. You know, it was exhausting, all the phone calls and all that, and especially just after your holidays and 2 weeks in Davos, and you know, it's like, what do we do? But you know, Mike Nicholson and the scouting department, like, I really wonder right now. It's like, you'd think, like, I'd love to see their timesheet, what they're doing all day. You know, how much of it right now do you think they're looking and trying to make relationships and looking, seeing who's available right now as a manager? In case we go doing the fucking pan completely. Like, are we going to start from scratch, or is it going to, okay, well, the contingency plan is, if it does go, we've got great guys, like we got Neil Lennon and we got Gordon Strachan, who could both come in.
John Kennedy. That'll be it. That'll be the answer to the end of the season. If Brendan gets sacked tomorrow, that'll be the answer at the end of the season, and then we'll address it again in the summer. We're still at a point where this league title is on a knife edge. You know, even if Brendan was to go within the next few weeks, if something went wrong, there's still plenty of time to recover this. But you have to make the right appointment, and I don't trust him at this stage to make the right appointment. I don't.
Well, I mean, what do? Do you get another dinosaur in, like what Aberdeen did? You know, like rolling in. You know, do we finally get Big Sam? You know, it'll be one of these sort of appointments, I think, that will have no imagination. Or do they go back? I mean, Ronnie Dyler's not had a second shot at it. I mean, everybody gets 2 kicks at it, right? I mean, but that would just sort of like even it all up nicely, nice sort of balance for them, and they think they've done his job. I checked to see how he's doing with FC Bruges, you know, and I don't know if he's doing right. I think they're 3rd place right now.
He's had a decent enough career since he left us. We're going over to New York, and then he's at Standard Liège, and he's done all right. But
well, here's the custom. Since Ange's left as well, and since Marc Lao's come in full time, don't hear much about the City group anymore. I thought
that's true, actually. Yeah,
been getting if we were going to get, because we were saying, all right, we've resigned ourselves, we'll get a few loan signings. So is Norwich our new City group now? Is that
no,
getting guys for the Frenches, fucking Norwich. Like,
Norwich City.
This is a sad country western song we're in. It really is, you know.
Oh no, well, let's try and end on some sort of positive news. We look at the forwards, obviously, and Liam, we've got a guy that can hit a penalty. Oh my God, this is revolutionary. A guy that can actually score penalties, it seems anyway, until he probably misses one, and then they'll rotate it again. But funny enough, when we did sign him, one of the highlights that I did see of his was he take a really nice penalty for the Republic of Ireland against the Netherlands in a Euros qualifier, I believe it was. But yeah, he took those 2 penalties well. Last minute, a game where we've been under the cosh in that second half, to step up and score it. And by the way, I do think both were penalties. I know there's a lot of angry bears out there, saying that, Celtic getting, blatant cheating going on here. They were both penalty kicks. The second one is a penalty. Even though the shot's already away at that point, he goes through him full force, and it's in the box. It's just in the box. Whether it's an inch in the box, a foot in the box, 10 feet in the box, whatever it is in the box, the line is deemed as the box. If you're fouled on the line, it is deemed in the box. So it was the right decision. I say, bloody Andrew Dallas was on VAR, and he told Nick Walsh to go to the screen and look at it, then it has to have been a penalty. But balls of steel from the big man to step up and take it. I thought it was 2 very nice penalties he took. And hopefully he does keep that going, Liam, because apparently now the stats show that we are in fact the team that has had the most penalties this season in the Scottish Premiership, which many people find hard to believe. And the reason for that is because we're so rubbish at them. That's why that stat doesn't register with people. But yeah, hopefully now this is our penalty problem solved. But on the basis of how he played, I would keep Ida in the team on Sunday for St Mirren. I would keep him in that position, just keep him up front. Because Kyogo, I say maybe he needs a few games on the side, and you don't know how much a bad knock he took from that, because maybe that was one of the reasons why he was at the back, kind of not celebrating. Maybe he was quite roughed up, because that was a was a hard challenge he took for that penalty kick. But I would stick with that, especially because St Mirren are a team who have got a lot of cloggers. They're a very physical team. I would go with the big guy up front. Why not?
I had to see the replays on that one as well when we just come in right through him. At first I thought it was like, 50-50, man's game, all that shit. But then when I seen it, it's like, oh, fuck.
Yep.
I'm surprised he didn't do a somersault at the top of him, like kid style, you know.
Yep.
That's like one of the, tackles that connect.
Mm.
You know what, Kyogo's funny. If he's no injured, if he's no feeling, bruised up and all that, fuck man, put him in the wing then. If
Why not?
Up there,
I would say so.
Because I thought Abada was absolutely shite.
Dreadful, absolutely dreadful. He's phoning it in now. His mind, he's checked out. We know the reasons why. Let's be honest, Liam. I'm not going to delve in too deep because it is
that is the reason.
Yeah.
But it's you're a professional football player, and I don't think you're going to get any. I don't know where you're going to go. You're going to find some sort of sympathy that we're going to be holding up IDF.
Yeah.
So, that one, suck it up, Buttercup. You chose to play football. Go back to Israel and play fucking shite league there. That's it. If you don't want to play and you don't believe in our values, I think nobody's going to matter. And right now, you're not exactly cutting it up. So if we can get a good price for you, cheerio. Go do your thing, whatever it is. But I don't think it'll be coming back any time for a half-time draw or anything. But
yeah. But the thing is with the wingers, I think he'll go maybe. I know a lot of people are basing it on that Rangers game from 2 years ago where he didn't have the best of times out wide. But I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, a game that does get forgotten from just about the same time, maybe literally been the week before. I remember we played the game against Hearts where Edwards started through the middle and Kyogo started out wide, and it was some of the best football that I'd seen especially after what we just witnessed that season before with the COVID season. But this was Ange obviously a couple of weeks into the job. But we beat Hearts in the League Cup and we absolutely blew them away in the first half. And some of the football, and Kyogo was playing out wide that day. But he always gets tarnished with that performance at Ibrox where the Balogun was playing as a makeshift right back that day and seemed to pocket him. But see, at the moment with the way our wingers are, obviously this is the options. Maeda, who you don't know what you get with Maeda. He is a total mystery at times. There was points on Wednesday night, great ball in behind and just a horrendous touch. And it's just like, what do you get from this guy? Abada, as we say, he seems to be phoning it in now. Kuhn, I wasn't that massively impressed with him. Obviously, he came on, scored against Aberdeen, but my God, he was MIA on Wednesday night. Mikey Johnson's been loaned out, so he isn't going to be an option at the moment. James Forrest, many fans would have a fit if James Forrest is still getting starts at this point. Why not? Why not try Kyogo there and keep Ida through the middle? Say at the moment where we definitely need something to spark us into life. Somebody and Kyogo is good for making runs essentially, and what I was saying earlier on about you're looking at the rest of the team while we're passing it sideways, Liam, and they're just static. So maybe you need to have find a way to filter them in. But of course, the answer would be, and we keep saying it, most people in the chat have said it tonight, just change the bloody formation. Instead of this 4-2-3-1, 4-3-3, very sort of, this is how we're going to do it, one striker through the middle. It's like, just change the system and the formation. Don't be so stubborn. But again, I'm not a football manager. You're not a football manager. So it's like, we're not the one that's running it. So we'll just imagine Brendan will stick to his guns, but he needs to get it working soon because it needs to turn very, very drastically because right now we are definitely in a bit of purgatory right now. Football purgatory, the way we're playing. So hopefully, Liam, we can see a real spark on Sunday.
You don't need any talent to be a manager these days. You just need to be a stubborn prick that will just willing to stand by your guns and just be one of these hands on the hips. I'm doing it my way, no matter what you think. And that seems to be our stance in the boardroom. That seems to be our stance with Rodgers. And yet you look at it, it's like, okay, don't put yourself too high up into this elite category. You're there. You're a lucky man to be doing what he's doing for a living. And right now, when you're not doing it, I don't think you should be able to just carry on doing that. It's like once you're done, you're done. This lifetime as a manager because you were able to connect with a couple of decent players at one time, like a hot Luis Suarez or Sturridge or whatever at that time.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. He has done it before, but
Mm-hmm.
I think he's an elite manager, and what we're seeing right now is elitism that's gone right across the board, and it's not elitism on meritocracy and that. It's there because we can't fucking shift them. You can't do anything about it, so you have to listen to me and watch me fucking bang a square peg into a round hole one more time. Tell you you're the idiot, for asking for change. We all know it. I think most of us could be football managers, just given the right thing. What you do, you just assemble the staff, motivate players. I'm sure you can do all of that stuff as well. And I think he needs to start taking a good look at himself and start repairing his relationship with the fans. Because right now, it looks like all his focus is on repairing his relationship with the board.
It's so surreal just how he's became just a bit of a puppet, essentially. It's quite concerning. So you're right, he needs to turn that around. But before we finish then, instead of going for score predictions, we'll just keep it a very simple question. Liam, come close of play on Sunday night, will Celtic still be in the Scottish Cup? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
I
say yes as well, but I think it'll be an ugly performance again. It'll be another one of those. We're going to need to wait a little while before we kick into gear. But in an ideal world, like we did against St Mirren before the January break, we get 2 early goals because that will kill the game off effectively. That's what we said earlier on. If we can get 2 goals in front, usually teams have got an answer. But if we get to half time and they're still in the tie, they will obviously throw everything at us. Maybe somebody in the chat can tell me before we go as well, is it, if it ends a draw, will it be a replay or will it be extra time and penalties? So I'm not sure if it's basically has to be decided on the day or if we got rid of replays. I'm not 100% sure. So yeah, because we don't need extra fixtures on the calendar right now. We just want to get this done and get it out of the way. So hopefully it's nobody says for oh god, Pat, what? No, St Mirren 2, Celtic 1. No. Pat was saying replay, so apparently replays are on the table if it does end a draw. We can't have that. We can't have extra fixtures right now. I know we haven't got any European football to clog up on midweeks, but as I say, we just don't want these distractions. Oh, Timmy Bing, come on, man. You say 0-0. That would be a replay then. Gary Brown says 3-1 Celtic. Jim C saying 3-1 to the Hoops. Monty says we'll win 4-1. But yeah, we'll head off then, Liam. That's another Friday feeling done and dusted. Obviously, we're trying our best to keep it as positive, but we just say it the way it is on the Boise bus. I know I would love for everything to be sunshine and rainbows right now, and we'd be blowing teams away. But yeah, it is quite concerning. So this is a game that, when you look at the Kilmarnock game at the start of the season, the League Cup, this isn't too dissimilar in terms of the standard of team we're playing. So we need to be at the races from the start. We need to make sure that we are still in that cup come close of play Sunday night. So it won't be easy, but I do think we will get there in the end. We will find a way through. But Liam, that's us. We'll head off now. And so Sunday, we'll PMP. It'll be Russell and I believe Terry will be back. I know he's been missing in action for a few, but he's had some stuff on that he's had to get to and he can't make it. But yeah, Russell will be here either way, doing some sort of a version of PMP, maybe even himself, like he did last week as well after the Aberdeen game. So, but yeah, keep an eye out for that. Of course, if you haven't subscribed yet, if you hit the subscribe button, hit that bell notification, you'll be notified when PMP is on and all of our other shows. So until then, we'll catch you later. And as I said earlier on, as Neil Lennon would probably say, team talk wise, look, we're fucking Celtic. Just go out there and find a way to win, boys. So that's what I want to see on Sunday. Just find a fucking way to win. We'll catch you later, guys. See yous.